Hello and welcome to this special report from Sandhu TV. I'm Nick Peters. This week, the government announced the latest stage of funding for zero emissions air travel, propulsion systems, and that sort of thing. By 2026, they'll have invested £3.9 billion. They've also announced funding for travel systems of the future, such as vertical takeoff and landing air taxis, and for small scale urban airports. The first one opens later this year in Coventry. I'm delighted to be joined by Ricky Sandhu, who's CEO of Urban Airport. Ricky, tell me why this is such a unique project and how it fits into our future travel needs and lives.
Well, it's unique in the sense that urban airports don't exist. So this will be the first time we're all going to see within our kind of city remit a new piece of sustainable aviation infrastructure. And the reason why it's going to be quite revolutionary is because our cities demand it. There's one of the world's, if not the world's, greatest migration right now of people, humans, us, moving towards cities. And our cities are already congested and polluted. So it's incumbent on all of us to find new ways of sustainable zero emission mobility systems. And the urban airport is one such system enabler. So autonomous aerial taxis and autonomous logistic drones, whilst they're all happening and they're all in the very near future, we will see them in our skies. They all will need the infrastructure to support them. And that's where we come in.
What I love about the urban airport is that it's modular, and you could be built off site, manufactured off site, and all brought together in one place. And it doesn't tap into local energy reserves. It's fully self-contained, isn't it?
It is, and sustainability and having that sense of responsibility for the built environment as a whole, for our transport systems, but also the way that we design, the way that we manufacture our buildings and our infrastructure is super crucial. So the fact that it's already going to be pre-designed, pre-fabricated in a factory means it will come with higher quality because it's going to be designed and built in control situations, which means then it will last longer. And the fact that it's very light in terms of its energy usage, but also in terms of the materials that we're using, that also helps. And then in locations where urban air mobility and this kind of infrastructure is going to be used is a little bit unknown because it hasn't been done before. So we were very, we were very sure that what we need to do is create something which is very agile, very flexible, very lightweight, quick to assemble, but also importantly off grid. So what we don't want to do is have a diesel generator, providing the power to charge the vehicles, to provide the lighting. So the urban airport is 100% off grid. You can see in some of the images that we've got solar panels installed at the higher levels, and we're hoping to be using clean hydrogen as the main power source.
And it's got more applications than just urban airports.
Yes, of course. So our key markets that we're targeting are passenger air taxi services, which are on their way. There are a number of leading OEMs, including our partners Hyundai, who are developing those passenger air taxi vehicles. But also right now, we're also partnered with Malloy Aeronautics, and that's a company that already has autonomous logistic drones. And these drones, they're not insignificant in size. Some of them are around the size of a double bed, and they can carry payload of up to in the order of how can I put it, 4 very big suitcases that we would take as a family on a long haul trip. So quite significant payload. So at the urban airport in Coventry, we'll be showcasing a passenger air taxi lounge within the airport. We'll also be showcasing a mini fulfillment center, which is where cargo will be brought to the urban airport, assembled and stored, processed, and then distributed to the end location and vice versa. And the 2 other sectors that we're quite interested in and seen a lot of interest from is disaster, emergency, and management. So if there's a natural disaster somewhere, or even an urban disaster, urban airports could be kept on retainer, so that if there was such an emergency, urban airports could be very quickly deployed from local storage units. And the defense sector too, urban airports can act as forward operating bases. So there's 4 main sectors, and we're looking at high value cargo as well, and starting to speak to hospitals and that sector too.
You've got some investment from the UK government, which must be very welcome, and of course from your partner Hyundai. But this sounds like a very capital intensive operation. Who else is going to get involved?
So you're absolutely right. We're very excited to have UK government backing. And the UK government has put in £1.2 million as a grant. So we're very, very honoured to have their support. Hyundai also, but of course, but you're right. It's not only up to the UK government, urban airports, and Hyundai to bankroll this entire sector. It's incumbent on all people who are concerned about the built environment, who are concerned about the state of our climate, to get involved. And it's for that reason we have an open Series A external capital round, which we're hoping to raise £6 million. And what that will do is help us propel our other models, because the urban airport infrastructure is scalable. And so the one we'll see, and everybody will see in Coventry, is what we call the medium size, which is quite big, roughly 40 meters diameter. But in some locations where there's high value cargo only, to be used and distributed, we might need much smaller ones. So we're looking for extra funding to help build out the ecosystem, build out our different products, and so we welcome investors who are interested in physical infrastructure, clean energy solutions, sustainable transport, but also software and our digital architecture. So every airport has an operations center, and our airport will be no different. So it's really the physical and the digital architecture and infrastructure that we're looking to develop, keep developing, and serve via our model of infrastructure as a service.
What I'm really intrigued by, Ricky, is that your background is not in aeronautics, nor is it in manufacturing. You're an architect. And you've worked with some of the world's greatest architectural companies. So what brought you to this and your vision? You've got a website called Small.World, or a charity, a foundation called Small.World. What brought you to that? What's your vision?
You're right. So it's funny though, but being an architect, I've always said and always believed that architects are the experts in nothing but the experts in bringing the experts together. And some of my last major projects in my last practice, where I worked with Lord Foster, one was designing the Qatar Airways airport expansion in Qatar, and at the same time, I was working on the Slussen project in central Stockholm, which is a big inner city redevelopment, which included many transport interchanges. So the world of aviation, cities, transport, and manufacturing, because there was a huge 140-meter long bridge that we designed, and that was manufactured in China. So we have touched on all those things as an architect, but the real essence, I think, of your question is based around my real kind of passionate and something which I believe passionately about is the environment. And as an architect, you can have a great impact with your buildings, but often it's very difficult to tackle those really difficult areas, which are the spaces in between the buildings, and that's where a lot of our carbon is spent. And that's where there's huge inefficiencies. So I created 6 miles across London, which is acronymed as SMALL, which is quite literally a journey from where I live in northwest London to where I used to work in southwest London. And that journey was 6 miles across London, but it took an hour, and it was to commute that journey in each direction, congested, polluted through very expensive parts of central London, and that's why I kind of have pivoted. And our group now is focused on providing and developing new sustainable transport solutions to try and improve that missing link. And our foundation is a really exciting foundation. It's also trying to tackle some of the other big problems, such as plastic waste and fashion waste. So that's our not-for-profit arm. But our 6 miles across London group, and Urban Airport is a subsidiary of that group, is tackling the big challenges of sustainable transport.
And if you look on the frame just below there, you'll see links to both of those websites. Ricky, one thing that intrigues me and pleases me is your emphasis on getting young people to come and see what's going on. This will be very much the case at the new urban airport in Coventry later this year. But young people are the future, and we in the manufacturing sector, we feel it very deeply because there's such a terrific skills shortage. We have to enthuse young people around these issues, do we not?
Completely agree. Science, technology, engineering, and maths and design are fundamental to our futures. And I think the younger generations are, we have to get them excited about future technologies. And whilst in the space that we're talking about now with urban air mobility, the vehicles themselves are very, very attractive and very sexy, but it's the infrastructure that I think can be equally as attractive. And actually, a lot of our team are very young students now. We're partnered with the University of Coventry. We're also working with the University of Cambridge and Portsmouth. So we're very active in that space. And it's important for all of our sakes that the future generations get excited and take that sense of responsibility about being sustainable, being off grid, and not adding to the problems that we have, and actually bringing them in and educating them to help solve some of the problems of the future and of today.
The revolution going on in transportation, I'm thinking about electric vehicles, which is going to change the entire supply chain as we head towards the 2030 cutoff date, when the government has banned future production of the internal combustion engine in this country. It strikes me that manufacturers will need to pivot. They'll need to look at new opportunities. And I'm sensing in this part of the aeronautical revolution that there are going to be opportunities for manufacturers there.
Absolutely, and part of the UK government's excitement about what we're doing is exactly that, is to strengthen the UK supply chain. So if we can build out the ecosystem via our infrastructure solutions, we can then support the manufacturing supply chains through materials, engineering, and we have a whole host of different typologies of urban airport. And a lot of steel, but a lot of aluminium, but also timber as well. So that I think the manufacturing kind of ingenuity and technological interventions that we're going to seek for the urban airport manufacturing is going to be quite important, but also for the vehicles as well. So if we can help by creating jobs by virtue of creating the ground-based infrastructure, really the platform and the foundation of a future mobility ecosystem, then we can really say that we're going to be making an impact into that future supply chain and strengthen it.
Well, Ricky Sandhu, thank you very much indeed for being with us. It sounds like one of the most exciting projects I've seen for a long, long time. And in manufacturing, we see an awful lot of exciting projects. So all the very best of luck with it. Congratulations on the new airport coming up in Coventry later this year. We'll keep an eye on that. This has been a special report from Sandhu TV. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you again soon.